20 miles south of the Oklahoma border is bucolic Sanger, Texas. This utilitarian bridge crosses Interstate Highway 35, which starts at the Mexican border and ends in Duluth, Minnesota. It's a bridge that no one thinks about and no one will remember, but it's the only way for the youth of Sanger to traverse the interstate on their ways to and from school. On the west side, there's a crematory, and sometimes you can smell the smoke. Next to the crematory is an abandoned body shop that looks like it got hit by a tornado. Don't trespass. It's dangerous and impolite. This camera operator has been fired. In brutalist adherence to ADA conventions, you see zigzag entrances on both sides featuring an assortment of insubordinate native plant life. Sometimes there's so much beauty in the world, I feel like I can't take it. Most of the artwork here is profoundly half-assed. While exiting the bridge, we found a wallet that had grass growing through it. Only in Sanger, man. You don't see many pedestrians using this bridge, or most of the pedestrian bridges here. This world is designed on the car scale, so walking is a last resort for most North Texans. Just south of Sanger is the culturally rich college town of Denton. I love the color of rust, but I have questions about using decay cosmetically on something as important as a support beam on a bridge. This is the University of North Texas, home of the Mean Green. This is a public university where Texans can get a degree for around $100,000.
Hi, my name is Clark Cawthorn, and I'm standing here live on the grounds of the old Fouts Field Stadium, where many traditions have begun and new traditions are being started. As you can see behind me, construction has started on a new pedestrian bridge that will allow North Texas students a safer route over Interstate 35 and gaining access to the new Apogee Stadium for football games in the fall.
A lot of creative people live in Denton, but you don't see much graffiti in this area. I think I hear the marching band rehearsing. They call Denton the Little D, which makes Dallas the Big D. Dallas is pretty cool, but have you ever been to Farmers Branch? Most locals remember the Joe Ratcliffe Walkway because it has a name, and most bridges are nameless in the DFW Metroplex. What would you call this bridge? Or this one? Or this one? What about this one? Or this? The Joe Ratcliffe Walkway is also known as the Bridge from Dallas to Farmers Branch. Did you know that in Dallas, the street signs are green, and in Farmers Branch, they're red? Imagine that. The Joe Ratcliffe Walkway crosses Interstate 635, also known as the Lyndon Baines Johnson Freeway. Lyndon, or LBJ, became president when John Kennedy was assassinated about 13 miles from here. This is the second Joe Ratcliffe walkway. The original was scrapped during the construction of the Texpress toll lanes. The Texpress lanes are a series of express tollways that were built adjacent to pre-existing freeways for the impatient. Many say that after dark, the long stretches of high-speed tunnels create a cyberpunk atmosphere. Ten miles east is the LBJ Skillman Light Rail Station, which brings us to our next bridge. This little flyover actually serves a purpose inside of a larger multimodal schema. It gets you to the train that takes you to some very spread out and inconvenient depots, wherefrom you can wait sometimes an hour to catch a bus that, when you're lucky, can get you to within half a mile of your home. On the other side of the highway, you'll find a long path with plenty to look at. I wonder where this train is headed. This is a great place to meet people, to engage in conversations about art and culture. This East Dallas Bridge gets walkers to and from Walmart. Walmart is the largest retailer in the world and has more employees than the U.S. military. Its design is pretty avant-garde. One access ramp is straight, and the other is zigzag, and the bridge itself has a few turns that prevent you from knowing what's around the corner. No trip to Walmart is entirely without suspense, but a game like this should have multiple checkpoints where you can save your progress and not have to go back to the beginning every time you die. The Super 8 petitioned against the bridge's construction, but rumor has it, Super 8 dropped the motion once they realized the bridge could also be used to get to Panda Express Chinese Cafe. The original price of a room at Super 8 was $8.88 per night. Super 8, now a subsidiary of Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, no longer offers such economical rates, so this traveler is camping outside. Welcome to sunny Hearst. This bridge opened in 2012. It's a cool bridge, but you don't see a lot of people using it. Hearst is part of what locals call the HEB, Hearst, Euless, and Bedford, within the greater mid-cities. The mids of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. In the DFW, we have 3 cool cities, with their patterns of development gradually deconcentrating into suburbs following nearly unimaginable outlays of sprawl and decentralized commercial activity, like a Bermuda Triangle for placeness. The green makes it very photogenic, wouldn't you say? Scientists say that being in the presence of green stimulates your pituitary gland, which mystics associate with the third eye chakra. Speaking of mysticism, this is Reverend Kwang Soo Ryu of the Emmanuel Presbyterian Church of Dallas.
굉장히 피로가 회복되지죠.
When you comfortably recline on a chair, of course you will be arrested and
그거는
relaxed.
잠시를 말하는.
But that's only for a temporary moment.
처음에 딱 편한데 그렇게 계속 있으면 내 몸에 굉장한 데미지를 줘요.
At first, it's very comfortable for you, but that's going to cause damage on your body.
This is the President George H.W. Bush Turnpike in Grand Prairie. Bush was a Navy veteran and West Texas oil man who ended up being vice president to Donald Reagan before serving one term as president, wherein he ended the Cold War in a high-risk boxing match with Ivan Drago. This depressing bridge was built in 2007, maybe considering the students of the Grand Prairie Collegiate Institute, which the kids call Gypsy. G-P-C-I, Gypsy. TSNLS stands for Turnt Shit No Lame Shit, which is the name of a spirited movement of drifters known for impromptu exhibitions on public streets. These events are called sideshows or takeovers. But otherwise, I don't know if this place would have been in a movie if it hadn't been for this beige waste of a sunset. This is Highway 360 in Arlington, home of the Dallas Cowboys and the Texas Rangers. This seasoned bridge was built in 1981. If walls could talk. I love you. In Arlington, someone's always building something, and you can tell they truly invest themselves in these efforts because sometimes the finished product takes decades to complete. Arlington is similar in population to Bologna City, Italy, but twice its size, dedicating much of its footprint to the wheel. General Motors broke ground here in the golden age of capitalism, and Arlington never stopped one-upping itself, beginning with the Six Flags Over Texas amusement park, followed by Arlington Stadium, also known as Turnpike Stadium. Wet n Wild, also known as Hurricane Harbor. The ballpark in Arlington, also known as AmeriQuest Field, or Rangers Ballpark, or Globe Life Park, Globe Life Field, Cowboys Stadium, also known as AT&T Stadium, Pantera, also known as Pantera. So of course Arlington has become a prosperous land of fractalizing car centricity, unironically with no public transportation. Long ago, a treaty was made between Americans and colonizers, under which the Americans were to remain west of a line traced passing through the future site of Fort Worth. The line marked, "Where the West Begins," giving Fort Worth its famous slogan. Welcome to West Central West Fort Worth, home of the Arlington Heights Yellow Jackets. John Denver attended Arlington Heights High School, and so did Bill Paxton. Can you imagine? Architecture has come a long way over the past 100 years, but we have to give our savage ancestors some credit for trying. On the south side, this bridge goes from Morningside Historic District to West Morningside District, which doesn't get to be called historical, although it seems to be from the same time period. The state doesn't seem to care about this Byzantine structure, which is now a reliable home to the houseless. While in other parts of town, bridges are like works of art, this bridge serves as a canvas for outsiders. A piece like this can cost an artist up to $4,000 in fines and up to a year in jail. Farther west, this neighborhood was divided by treacherous waters, but luckily the city was able to commission a visual artist from Portland, Oregon, to produce this bridge for $375,000. This cute little bridge crosses Interstate 820 in East Fort Worth at Handley Park. This area was named after retired Confederate Major James Madison Handley, who owned a plantation here in the late 19th century. Tonight at Handley Field, local students will be competing in their homecoming football game. This says, "I'm Lou Palomo," which we think could be a reference to this episode of Tales from the Crypt,
Any last words?
directed by Michael J. Fox.
I'm Lou Paloma. Blow me.
The most pedestrian-friendly place in the universe is the Las Vegas Strip. An honest, cynical, and exemplary model of the prioritization of the walker. From the deepest bowels of the American experiment, we actually see a forward-thinking approach to two-legged transit. On the Strip, a holistic approach to mobility creates a paradoxical sense of community between rivaling machinations. But in any town USA, we have a series of vacuums, places promoting outward, but investing inward, or onward. Hence the urban sprawl, where whether you like it or not, these 2-ton prosthetics are a basic human need. Some religions teach that a big road takes you to a bad place, and a little road takes you to a good place. But I wonder if the old prophets could have ever imagined the exponential growth of post-industrial society. Good or bad, I get the feeling that we won't need roads where we're going. But we might need a bridge.